What is up YouTube, and welcome to this The Batman video and discussion of the latest DC movie news, including the differences between the Snyder cut and the actual what we got on the cinema cut of the Justice League. I'm super hyped for The Batman as I am a big Matt Reeves fan and his work on the Planet of the Apes reboots was stunning, and if you've slept on the Robert Pattinson since Twilight like me, well then you're going to have to check out Good Times as he has matured into an acting powerhouse. As always, if you're new here then please do consider subscribing with notifications on so you never miss a video, and if you enjoyed the video then please do drop a like as it helps out massively. So with that stuff out of the way, let's dive in. Batman has had somewhat of a weird development so far, as it was very much of a case of is it a prequel or sequel to Batfleck or simply an Elseworlds Joker style story. Luckily Matt Reeves has confirmed that it is not going to be, and it is not going to be an origin story, and has said that I wanted to not do an origin tale, but a tale that would still acknowledge his origins in what it formed who he is. Like this guy, he's majorly struggling, and this is how he's going to rise above the struggle. But that doesn't mean he's going to even fully understand, it's the whole idea of the shadow self and what's driving you and how much of that you can incorporate and how much of that is going to drive you that you're unaware of. To me, this sounds like we won't be getting the whole crime alley story, which has been done to death, or him working his way up to wearing the costume like we got in Batman Begins. They're going to do the route of Spider-Man in the MCU, where we get an already kitted out Batman, but someone who isn't certain of themselves or at their peak. This works a lot better, and for someone as iconic as Batman, we don't really need to hear the story or see half the movie wasted on the character being created. Hate it or love it, the Zack Snyder method worked in Batman vs Superman, but that's a whole other video. The story also seems to be a lot more grounded than Batman movies have come before, and Matt Reeves has said, I'm going to pitch the version of Batman that I would do, which is going to have a humanist bent. There's something in there that feels very psychological, very emotional, and it felt like there was a way of exploring that along with the corruption in this place. With Birds of Prey exploring the more mobster level of the DCEU, then this sounds fun, and to be honest, some of the best stories have actually been more grounded for Batman, such as The Long Halloween, which appears to be what the movie is using for its source material. A villain called Holiday is killing people on, public holidays. There is also a massive mob war that takes place in the comic as well, featuring Carmine Falcone, who is in this movie, being portrayed by John Turturro. Personally, I would expect the Holiday Killer to not be used as much, and this simply be about mob war or taking down Falcones, as the crime family play a heavy role in the story, and we've seen images of it taking place at Halloween, and funnily enough, this is when the biggest moments in The Long Halloween actually take place. Almost all of Batman's rogues gallery are in the book, and we know that the Penguin and Two-Face are in this movie, with the Penguin of course being heavily featured in the sort of leaks that we've seen so far. Andy Serkis has recently spoken to Lad Bible about his role as Alfred Pennyworth. He has mentioned that this is going to be the darkest story and tale of the Batman yet, and the story will focus a lot on the connection between Alfred and Bruce, saying it's very much about the emotional connection between Alfred and Bruce. That's really at the centre of it, and it is really exquisite, the script that Matt has written. So it looks like this is going to be a hella dark, and you know what? I'm very excited. Dark doesn't have to mean killing people left, right and centre. Dark can mean a gritty cop drama style like Serpico, or plunging Batman into Narcos. Yeah, bad example, but you get what I mean. So let's move on to the Snyder Cut. This has to be the single biggest mystery and movement in comic book movies for years. The Justice League movie was a complete and utter mess and beyond a disappointment. And as a disclaimer, I enjoyed Man of Steel and didn't mind Batman vs Superman. Did they have their flaws? Yes. Can you like the MCU and DCEU? Yes. Don't be silly. So obviously Justice League was pushed over the final hurdle by your boy Joss Whedon, who somehow managed to totally mess up Age of Ultron. Man, that movie, what the hell happened? I think my dislike stems from the source material being better, but I digress. So when I was covering the Justice League way back when it came out, we had rumours and leaks that were not even in the damn movie, and the whole movie felt nothing at all like the previous two, and the cinematic shots and tone were totally off. The whole thing just felt weird. It's like someone tried to make an MCU movie but didn't lay the foundation of the MCU tune. It just totally shifted out of nowhere. Steppenwolf himself, Kieran Hines, said that wasn't the movie I worked so hard on. We hope the director's cut comes out because it was better than the movie that was in theatres, which is very, very interesting, and I believe that most of this was hinted at before the movie even came out, and that is eerily similar to how Game of Thrones stars try to warn us after that awful, awful final season. That was just bad. Evidence of this shows how we got major unused scenes leaked, such as Barry Allen saving Iris West, which would have been amazing to see and have it as a multi-layered movie, much like BVS, as opposed to the simplistic rubbish that we got in the cinema. This very much felt like just a basic, these are the characters, this is what happens, that's that. Now, in the Snyder Cut, Wonder Woman doesn't actually stop the bomb, as there is a second one showing she can't succeed. Yes, that felt more and more like Zack Snyder and less like the optimistic Joss Whedon. Now, in the scene with Martha and Lois, Martha is actually Martian Manhunter, who was supposed to be General Swanwick in Man of Steel. In the Snyder Cut, we see her walk away and change into the alien himself. We actually got more scenes in the Snyder Cut with Diana going to the ancient shrine of the Amazons before she meets Bruce and learns of the ancient battle with Amazonians, Atlanteans, and Green Lanterns as they fought Darkseid way before, which is very interesting because now we see in this actual movie, but we just actually got to assume that she knew this knowledge already. But Darkseid actually came to Earth in search of the anti-life equation, which is big there for that character and was a huge part of the comic Final Crisis, and is very much synonymous with the Infinity Stones, just like they're with Thanos. The anti-life equation is Darkseid's version of that, so to speak. Now, weirdly, a major character from Aquaman was cut from the movie, as Volko was shown to be protecting the mother box with Mera, and later actually gives Aquaman his armor and his quindent and asks him to stay and rule Atlantis. This was ridiculous that this was cut because it sets up so much for Aquaman, and just like Iris, it seems like the scenes setting up the characters that we haven't had movies previously, well, they were cut for time, and I'm not really sure why they did this, because in the final cut, we never really get to learn much about anyone unless they've had a movie previously. We would have also gotten way more Cyborg, as he explains his origin via hologram to the rest of the team. Now, I'm not a fan of the character, but maybe more time with this character would have won me over. We would have also actually seen Lex broken out of prison by Deathstroke, with some more shots of that actually happening, which was a shame that we'd never actually got that. It seemed like Joss Whedon was just cutting things out for time and not really thinking about it, and just distilling it into just one movie and one kind of real streamlined story, which isn't really what has happened with Batman vs Superman, and I kind of appreciate that it was very bloated. We also got more Star Labs in the movie, with Silas taking the mother box that was actually used to revive Superman to the iconic Star Labs, only for Steppenwolf to attack them and actually kill Silas himself. Now, this is the big stuff that I'm about to say, and well, it's just weird that most of this was actually cut. And we finally get an explanation for the Flash going back in time in Batman vs Superman, as after trying to locate Steppenwolf, as he has all three mother boxes, Bruce tells Diana that Barry went back in time to warn him that Lois is the key, but he was just too soon, and Superman would help Darkseid take over the Earth. This is paid off later, as later in the movie, Cyborg tries to take out all three mother boxes by ripping them apart, but Steppenwolf tries to draw the anti-life equation to Earth, and using this, Steppenwolf tries to take control of Superman, and Cyborg then sees the nightmare scene that Bruce saw and sends Barry back in time. Finally, we're getting a payoff from that. It's just maddening that this didn't actually happen, and Cyborg essentially has to interface with the boxes like we see in the movie, but all the context of this is gone. It's just ridiculous. Steppenwolf is beheaded, obviously, by Diana and boom tubed to Apocalypse, and his head rolls slowly to the feet of Darkseid, who says that we will see him soon. Wow. Absolutely just wow that we never got to see Darkseid in the movie. I just don't understand why they cut this out, because in the Shrine of the Amazonians, we see Darkseid holding what looks like a combination of all three mother boxes. Now, after this, once all said and done, we actually got another scene with Cyborg stopping robbers at Star Labs, and guess who he saw? None other than Dr. Ryan Choi, who of course became the Atom. You may have seen him in the Crisis on Infinite Earths Arrowverse crossover. Now, not only was the Justice League a victim of Warner Brothers, but Suicide Squad also had a better cut, according to David Ayer, and most of the final parts of the movie, including Enchantress and all that weird stuff at the end, was supposed to set up the Justice League and introduce the new gods. So if you want me to do a deep dive into that and maybe the Ayer cut, maybe hashtag release the Ayer cut, well, let me know down there in the comments. And all of this sounds better, and I don't know why it was cut, but, well, that's it for this video. So please do drop a like and a subscribe, and I'll see you again tomorrow.